Choir was here last night belting out show tunes, having a grand old time, so it's amazing. They sound so good. I did my solo. It was a tribute to anyone who's ever hit a wrong note in their lives. I wanted to let you know that we have a camera in the corner now and possibly forevermore. Last Sunday, we launched our live webcast, which now means anyone with an internet feed around the world can participate in our worship on Sunday, though it might be at an unusual time, depending where on the globe they are. 2 members who are homebound wrote in to say how grateful they were, but it means our reach as a community goes as far as a signal can travel. So we're excited about the experiment. If you're homesick, or just burdened with too much laundry to get out the front door, you can be still part of worship too. Our opening words this morning are by Helen Keller, who, I'm not sure if our younger people know who she is, but she was a woman who was born without the ability to speak or to see or to hear, but learned how to read and write and speak. And she said, one of my favorite quotes, she said, "Life is either a daring adventure or nothing." So with those words, we open our worship this morning, and we sing together hymn number 114, triumphant song about our connection back through the ages.
Good morning. My name is Diane Allen, and I'm chair of the Vision Mission Task Force. Here to welcome you this morning. And on behalf of the members and longtime friends of the congregation, I also want to extend a warm welcome to our visitors this morning. So if you're here for the first or second time and you feel comfortable, I invite you to please stand so that we can welcome you. Please stay after the service and join us for coffee and conversation, and we are so glad that you are here. If you would like more information from us, just fill out the yellow card in the hymnal pocket in front of you, or at the welcome desk, and you can drop it off to an usher or in our office. That will get you on our weekly mailing newsletter. So upcoming events are published in our order of service, and we invite you to read them over and come to anything that you are able to attend or that interests you. And of course, we have, as usual, a few additional announcements. I want to point out in the order of service that today at 12:30, we have a wonderful catered lunch to begin our annual operating fund drive and also to celebrate the work of our Society for Community Work. So please be sure to attend that right after, at 12:30 in the Star King room. Also, every second Sunday, the pastoral care teams of the church invite you to write a card of care or appreciation to someone in this congregation. And so today on your way out in the social hall, please stop by at their table in the gallery to write somebody a note of kindness. The Human Rights Working Group are still gathering signatures for Jeff Adachi's memorial book. So please see Melvin Starks or Lori Lai after service in the Star King room if you would like to be a part of this tribute. And we have just 6 days before the World Cafe this coming Saturday on March 16th. Thank you to everyone who has registered, and you'll be hearing from more details from us early this coming week. And for those of you who haven't registered, we hope that you will. This is going to be a very engaging event to talk about how you see the vision for our society and our facilities, and think out of the box and share a lot of ideas for the future, which will be particularly important as we begin our strategic planning work for this summer. It's free to attend, but we do ask that you register, if possible, by the end of this Tuesday. We have a table in the gallery, and also online. There's a link in the flame and on our web page. And now please join me in saying the words of our chalice lighting, which are printed in your order of service. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together.
Thespians, are you ready?
Ready.
Scaredy squirrel never leaves his nut tree. He'd rather stay in the safe and familiar tree than risk going out into the unknown. The unknown can be a scary place for a squirrel.
A few things Scaredy Squirrel is afraid of. Green Martians.
Killer bees.
Tarantulas.
Poison ivy.
Germs.
Sharks. So he's perfectly happy to stay right where he is. He has a great view and plenty of nuts.
But there are some disadvantages to never leaving a nut tree. Same old view, same old nuts, same old place.
In Scaredy Squirrel's nut tree, every day is the same. Everything is predictable. All is under control. Every day is the same routine.
Wake up,
Eat a nut.
look at view,
Eat a nut.
look at view.
Eat a nut.
Look at view.
Go to sleep.
But let's say that one day something unexpected did happen. Rest assured, this squirrel is prepared with a well-stocked emergency backpack.
What is in there?
A hard hat.
All right. Oh, Band-Aids.
Soap. Orange oatmeal.
Deep woods. Bug spray.
Ooh, a parachute.
Of dubious effectiveness. Oh, calamine lotion for poison ivy.
And sardines to feed the sharks.
Scaredy Squirrel is prepared. He even has an exit plan. If everything else fails, playing dead is always a good option.
With his emergency backpack nearby, Scaredy Squirrel watches. Until one day, Thursday, 9:37 a.m.
A killer bee approaches! Scaredy Squirrel jumps in panic, knocking his emergency kit out of the tree. This was not part of the plan. He jumps to catch his kit, but he regrets the idea because he is falling and the parachute is in the kit. But something incredible happens.
He starts to glide.
Scaredy Squirrel is no ordinary squirrel. He is a flying squirrel.
He feels overjoyed.
Adventurous.
He forgets all about the killer bee.
Not to mention the tarantulas, poison ivy,
Green Martians,
germs.
sharks.
He is carefree. He's alive.
Until he lands in a bush. He plays dead for a moment, but when nothing happens, he gets up. Scaredy Squirrel has a whole new perspective on life.
Scaredy Squirrel has a new and improved daily routine.
Wake up.
Eat a nut.
Look at view.
Jump into the unknown.
Play dead.
Return home. This is a good workout, by the way. We highly recommend it.
Eat a nut.
Look at view.
Go to sleep.
Look forward to the next day.
Sounds like Scaredy Squirrel needs a new name. Please rise and join me in saying together our covenant, both spoken and then sung. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another.
My name is Laurence Pilgrim, and with Kelli Murray, we are the co-chairs of the annual operating fund drive, also known as Pledge. Hold your applause till 3 weeks from now when we're finished. Kelli won the coin toss, and she elected to take whichever service required the least speaking, and so she last week warned you that Pledge would start this week. And she did such an amazing job and looked so professional at that when we returned to our seats, someone said to me, one of the newer attendees, "Wow, it is so great. You guys get to do this every year." And I said, decidedly not the case. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But we are loving it because it is really a fine opportunity for us to try to give back and to be grateful for what we get from this church. We're going to talk about that in just 1 second, but first I wanted to talk a little bit, just 1 second, about the luncheon today. Everyone is invited. It is the proverbial free lunch. There will be free childcare. There will be free wine. We are going to sit down to a first course and start the spoken program, and then tables will stand in turn and go get their food. And when others are going through the buffet line, we encourage the people who are at their table to discuss among themselves a brief and spectacular aspect of Unitarianism for them. Why do you pledge? Why are you here? Kelli and I are going to do that in just a second ourselves. So you can be thinking about that, but please not during the silent meditation. For those who aren't going to be at lunch, there was a letter that has been sent around to everyone with more details about pledging. We will be tracking the results of Pledge with the Grow Our Light flame of success that my daughter Mara has made, our daughter Mara, that is outside the sanctuary that will show as we reach our lofty aspirations this year. And though Kelli and I are up here, because we were the people who got to do this year. Really, all of you are the reason that the organization, the community, the church that we are is so successful. And so we want to come down to where you guys are to tell the story of why we're Unitarians. So my name's Laurence. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I am the son of I was raised Unitarian, actually. My father was a refugee from the Holocaust whose family did not survive. He came from Vienna. My mother was a Southern belle who was a liberal spirit and had a conscience, and we went to the Unitarian Church for my whole life growing up.
And I am a lapsed Catholic, daughter of an immigrant mother from Mexico, and who married my father, a working class guy who grew up in Marin City.
So we met each other in law school, and after just 12 years, we were married by the then Unitarian minister here, Victor Carpenter. And we were living in the city, and we started coming to the UU Church about a little bit after our son Daniel was born, because we're looking for how do we want to be a spiritual family, and what are the values that are important to us.
And a few years after we joined the church, we went through some unbearably difficult times as we embarked on the process of trying to adopt a child. And one Sunday evening, there was a knock at our home in the Haight, and it was our minister who had seen that I was very distraught in church that day. And that minister thought that maybe we just needed to talk. And we did, and it helped so much.
Not too long after that, we were blessed with the adoption of Mara, who is here. And we ultimately moved over to Marin County. We live in Mill Valley. But we've always kept coming to this church because this was where we connected. And because we wanted to be part of the real world, not just suburbia. And we wanted to be in a community that cared about the sorts of values that this place cares about. And so our kids went through the whole RE program. They had secret friends. When we had that program, we got to be secret friends for other people. They went on street retreats in the Tenderloin. They visited all sorts of denominations and other religious places of worship all over the city. And they roamed free at the church retreat up in Occidental. In fact, Mara learned to crawl on the rather crusty stage of the church retreat. Then they all both went through the rites of passage, and they grew up in a community that they trusted and that respected everything that was individual and unique about them.
When Daniel entered the coming of age program in high school, he chose Thad Smith to be his mentor. Lucky Daniel. If you know Thad, you know how compassionate and kind he is. A friendship blossomed, and they're still hanging out today now that Daniel has graduated from college and moved to Berkeley. During the program, Daniel had to do a service project, and he came up with the idea of solar panels for the church. How hard could that be, right? With Thad's encouragement and support, Daniel went out and researched it, and together they came up with the starting information that showed solar might just work. And as you know, we now have a beautiful solar array. And Thad, of course, then made it happen, joining with so many others to live our values.
Thad and Daniel were bold. A few years later, when Mara went through the coming of age program, he asked, who else? She asked Lucy Smith to be her mentor. And Lucy, probably having very few other things to do in her life, said yes. And Lucy passed to Mara, much as Thad had passed to Daniel, that sense of unrestrained and uncompromising support that this society gives to all of its families, all of its youth, and all of its friends. This ultimately played out in Mara's graduation from the coming of age program when she stood up at that pulpit in front of a pretty full room and was able to talk about her battles with anxiety and depression. She asked me to emphasize that she doesn't usually even show up in public, much less speak there. But she was brave, and she was bold, and she was funny, and people laughed, and people cried, and Mara said that she had always felt supported here, and she said that she was going to make it, and she is. And that's because of the support of all the people here.
Thank you, Thad. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you all, you friends. And now let's go out and pay it forward.
Thank you both for sharing your story. Let's sing a second hymn, 368. Let's sing verses 1 through 3. Now let us sing. I invite you to rise as you are able in body and spirit. This morning is from Marianne Williams's book, A Return to Love, in which she writes this: Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? There is nothing. You are a child of the divine. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us. It's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give people permission, other people, to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Here ends our reading.
Each week, members and friends generously contribute to our offering. It helps us sustain and grow our community. It helps us do the work and witness of love that Kelli and Laurence shared with us. So today, if you happen to have your pledge form on you, feel free to drop that into the offering plate. But in any case, whatever it is that you bring to this community, your presence, your offering, it will now be received with gratitude.
My life flows on in endless song of God's lamentation. I hear the real, the far-off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear that music ringing. It sounds of love in my soul. How can I keep from singing? Life flows on in endless song. My life flows on in endless song. God's child, will sing, and
Please join me in a time of shared silence. In the spirit of prayer and meditation, we breathe. We recall first the moments in our lives when we were made to believe that we are smaller than we are, smaller than we were meant and made to be. The times when all that we bear, or all that we were told about ourselves, asked us to shrink our voices, shrink our hearts, shrink our spirits. In this moment and in this place, we set down the fear, the burden, and the grief of being less than. In this breath and the next, may we know that we are brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous. We remember with gratitude. We remember with love those who recognize the sparks of wholeness shimmering out from each of us. We remember those who loved us just because. Those who got our jokes, liked our questions. Those moments that appreciated our quietness or our rebellious streak. We remember with love and gratitude those who didn't get us, but reached out anyway. Those who suspected there might be something there, something worth hearing, something worth reaching out beyond, and leaned in. Those who recognized those sparks of wholeness that loved us into being. We lift up the times that we've been invited to shine, the moments we've been asked to move out into the world and be all that we were meant. Together, let us say yes to this divine calling to shine. Together, may we bring forward our gifts. May we know freedom, and may we use this freedom fully, completely up, to liberate others. Burning brightly, may our spirits be fuel for the divine burning. May every breath be a fierce yes to life and all that it offers. We breathe and say yes. Every breath. May it be so. Amen.
Years ago, the team that I was doing ministry with and I realized that we were all being drawn toward the same sense of what should be the central purpose and organizing principle of church. It all coalesced around the idea of equipping ourselves and others to live boldly. That the purpose of church and of our church was to equip people to live boldly. Of course, no sooner had we come to that conclusion than we realized that now we had to be able to articulate what living bold looked like. So we gathered a group of lay leaders to join us in that conversation, and what came up was beautiful and wide-ranging. Words like inspired, open-ended, trusting, tenacious, responsible, independent, aware of fear but choosing not to give into it, accepting sacrifice as fundamental but not being willing to sacrifice what is central, the willingness to make mistakes, flexibility, claiming who you were, not expecting adulation, acting without guarantees. Boldness, someone said, was respecting the fool in us, the one willing to be laughed at when they spoke, even the truth, while also respecting the fullness within us. Of course, there is much that works against such a life, or we'd all be doing it all the time, right? I mean, those words sound like a great way to live. At the core of the resistance, we realized, was pretty clearly fear, all kinds of fear. Fear that we'll embarrass ourselves or that we'll fail, that we'll risk change and not like life on the other side of that change. Fear that people won't like us or that we will hurt feelings or alienate those around us when we claim this new kind of personal authority. And all of those are legitimate fears. We can fail. We won't know what to expect when we begin. Some folks are always challenged by changes in their loved ones, even when those changes are good ones. In addition, we can and certainly do put up a lot of amazing roadblocks to our own motivations to live our dreams. Lots of really good excuses, one person said to me once when explaining why he hadn't let his dreams, or how and why he had let his dreams be set aside. Then he said, one day I realized, in the end, all I'd be left with were good excuses. That revelation for him was the beginning of an incredible leap into public life. Sometimes it is an epiphany like that that helps us find a way to overcome our resistance to change, to leap out of the tree and find, in fact, that we can fly, that we are a different animal than we thought ourselves, knew ourselves previous to be. The key can be to just get out of our own way, if we can figure out how to do that. Rick Warren is the minister to the unchurched in California. He started a church many of you know about. He started it doing focus groups outside the local grocery store in, I think, Orange County, California, because he knew he wanted to plant a congregation there based on demographic trends. And he asked people who didn't already have a church what stopped them from going. The result, as most of you know, was his Saddleback congregation with its rock and roll music, although now there are tents set up so you can choose the gospel music or country and western or rock and roll with the sermon piped in at the right time. Comfortable theater seats, I'm sure you're wishing for one of those right about now. and his, then at least, signature Sunday garb of a Hawaiian shirt, which are back in fashion, I think. Always in fashion, I guess. The model has been replicated infinite times since then. And Saddleback, the mother church of this rethinking, is still going strong. In 2017, their average Sunday attendance was 22,000 people. So he knows a little about bold living. In one of his books, he said that bold living starts with ambition. Make no mistake, he writes, we are meant to have ambition for our own lives, for our relationships, for the world. It's not a bad word. Next, he said, though, we have to be mindful of at least two tempting falsehoods that delude us into not putting our ambitions into practice. The first among these lies is the one that's told in a lot of religious institutions that says that smallness is a virtue. Smallness is a virtue. People have said to me, I serve God in my little way. And my reply is, well, why don't you start serving God in a bigger way? Let God use more of you. A second misconception that gets in our way is the one he said that would confuse contentment with laziness. He said we can and should love our lives, but that doesn't mean that we don't also hold up dreams for them, that we lean hard into. So, for instance, he said we should love and cherish our partner, but have ambitions that the relationship will grow deeper and more intimate. And we should love our work and still hope it will always make more use of more of our gifts. And we can and should love our congregations and still dream that they can serve a wider embrace of people, heal and love and transform greater swaths of parched landscapes wherever they lie. A friend pointed out years ago that they thought that becoming a Unitarian Universalist is for many a bold act, being or becoming one. Indeed, for the 90% of our folks, coming here has meant a decision to leave a faith they grew up in. Or if they grew up unchurched, as is increasingly the case, then it's the bold act of walking into the foreign territory of church for the first time. For everyone here, including our lifers, it has meant answering the question of where you are on Sunday morning with a big mouthful of words for a little-known faith that prompts further questions, that forces you to say things like non-creedal, which makes a lot of people cock their heads, or people of different faiths together in one community and no need to believe in God, which together confuses and scares great segments of this country's population who have a particular idea of what constitutes real religion, and it doesn't include any of those answers. And mind you, we are not perfect in living our espoused values. This last week, some of you know, hosted a fierce debate about an article in the newest issue of our UU World, our denominational magazine, an article called After L, G, and B, that hurt our trans siblings, and it pulled back the veil on some need for serious reflection and work as a movement, as people. And it is also true that unlike our United Methodist siblings last month, we are not still debating whether our GLBTQI siblings are a blessing from God. That answer is a resounding yes with every breath. The challenge we have is living better the love and respect we espouse. All of which is to say that being Unitarian Universalist means in part that we are lucky, I suppose, to already have had a lot of experience being bold. Lately, I have noticed too, though, how this community goes one step further. How it has a habit, I would say, of nurturing and giving refuge to the bold. And I want to give you two examples of what I mean in case you haven't been there to see what I've seen. At the board retreat this fall, we were asked to write a list of all the things we had accomplished in the last year. The list that went up spoke of an ambitious, tough, and idealistic group and a busy one. In a year, we had weathered things like hard conversations that you're aware of about financial realities, and we'd come out stronger. We'd hired an intern who turns out to have been one of the best decisions of the year. And I'm not just saying that because I think her parents are here. And then someone brought forth a challenge about where our justice and equity work was in the set of goals we've been working through, our developmental goals. And the board had a rich discussion, and then it added to the developmental goals what I will call the lens of wholeness, which is to say that from that moment on, we were and are to bring an eye toward how we are serving equity and inclusion in all of our work. And so we started having a lot more conversations this year about race and equity. I hope you've noticed. The Human Rights Working Group launched the We the Beloved video project, which just got accepted as a workshop at this year's General Assembly, which, for those of you who don't know what that means, it's the annual gathering of UUs from all over the country. And our mission vision process will be led by Diane Johnson, who some of you had a chance to meet, who brings not just enormous organizational consulting experience and formal religious training, but also this lens of wholeness and experience around that to the work. And thanks to a Hinckley grant, she will be our partner, which is not an accident. We looked hard to find her. None of this is accidental. It's all about being an ally to boldness, I think. Or as a second example, come with me back to last Saturday. Do you remember it was cold and wet? It was the kind of night that no one who doesn't have to leave home, who has a home that they don't have to leave, would. And it is the night of our spaghetti dinner, where we honor social justice heroes in the wider world. Upwards of 90 people came out in that weather to be there. Some were our members, but also our neighbors from the Lutheran Church, who just voted recently to become a sanctuary church and were toasted at the event. A whole bunch of activist friends were there in that room. Leaders from Church Women United, a lead activist for the homeless that I met, members of the Progressive Democrats, and artists and musicians, not to mention our honorees. Among those there is the Public Defender's Office of San Francisco, who's being honored that Saturday night, many of their lawyers and family members. After an awful week of having lost Jeff Adachi, I didn't expect them to show up. And I tell Michael Hinckley, one of their lead attorneys, that we would have understood if they hadn't come. He says, nodding his head, "Yeah, Matt Gonzalez wouldn't let us miss it." And he and I look over, and Matt and his colleagues and their families and other guests are sitting and talking and smiling and laughing, and Mike thinks out loud that this might be the first time he has seen Matt smiling all week. The truth is, everyone is having a great time. And it occurs to me that for everyone in that room, all of whom are fighting the good fight all the time, here is this safe night in a safe place among people who see their work and know it as good and hard, a people who know and nourish boldness where they find it. The Reiner Award winners, their portraits are right outside that room, right? Photos of people whose lives testified to their values being served boldly in the world, and a testament to a community that sees and loves and treasures them and that about them. What an incredible gift to offer the world. It has me wondering if maybe this is our superpower. That we Unitarian Universalists in general, but particularly in this community, have both the ability and the inclination to liberate one another for passionate work in the world, and that we cheerlead and support the bold outside our doors, offer them a place to renew and to recover. Maybe we're like the safe tree, you might say, that folks can return to after heady bouts of risky flying, to eat a few nuts, take in the view, laugh with some of the other bold forest animals, and rest and leap again. That's my thought about what may be at our core. That, and also a love boat kind of welcome and joy. I'll circle back to the beginning of the year. The kind that was actually present last night, wasn't it, Mark? At the Broadway sing-along, where Boldness also showed up as solos that were sung after a couple glasses of wine and 2 supportive applause. Laughter and love and a people so bold. Next weekend on Saturday is this Mission Vision World Cafe event. If you haven't signed up, please do. Please throw your ideas and dreams into the mix. Let them not be small. And so you know, the annual goals for our giving are just plans to strengthen what we're already doing and extend the reach a little. Come to the luncheon, find out more about it, or come talk to me if you have questions. And thank you. Thank you all in advance for digging deep. However big your budget is to make these efforts possible, as everybody has in this space every year for 130 years. Because it's all of you who make everything possible. You've got to know that by now. So thank you. And if it makes you afraid or nervous, all that, remember the words of poet Audre Lorde, who wrote, "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid." Or as one woman without half the advantages with which most of us started life once wrote, "Life is either a daring adventure or nothing." So my friends, pledge like it matters, because it does. Come next Saturday and help us chart a future. Come ambitious for us. And wherever we go together, may we leap and find that we can fly. Amen. And now, in our comings and our goings, may the light of love shine upon us. Out from within us, be gracious unto us and grant us peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen.